Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Yeonni, and today I wanted to talk about imposter syndrome. I wanted to talk about this topic specifically because it's something that I have been going through the past few weeks of my life, and it's been kind of eating me up alive. So if you're interested in what imposter syndrome is, then just keep watching the video. So first things first, what is imposter syndrome? So basically, imposter syndrome is the idea that you've only succeeded and gotten to where you are in life because of luck, not because anything like inside you, not anything because of your skills or your talent or anything like that, but because just the world happened to run in a way where you got to where you are, and it's just pure luck. Especially in times in their lives where there's a lot of changes and transitions happening. For example, me with my new job. Imposter syndrome affects a lot of us. You're not alone. That's why we're talking about it today. Some history on the imposter syndrome. I have my notes in front of the camera here, so if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. It was first identified in 1978 by psychologists, actually. Pauline Rose Clancy and Suzanne Imes. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, Dr. Imes. While imposter syndrome is not an official mental health diagnosis, it's not in the DSM-5, it's widely accepted as something that's very common and affects a lot of people, and it's often accompanied by anxiety and depression. It's not an official diagnosis, but it's something that exists, and it's something that needs to be talked about. So there's this book called The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. It's written by Valerie Young, and while doing this research, I came across a lot of great information. She's categorized 5 different kinds of people who may experience severe imposter syndrome throughout their lifetime. The first type of people who experience imposter syndrome are the perfectionists. You know what perfectionists are like? Perfectionists pretty much set extremely high expectations for themselves, and even if they meet 99.5, 99.9% of those goals, because of that 0.1, they will feel like they're failures. And any small mistake will pretty much make them question their own competence. The number 2 type of people who experience imposter syndromes are the experts. So basically, experts feel like they need to know every type of information before they start a project or start anything new, and they're constantly looking for new certifications and new trainings and new ways to improve themselves. So certain people who are the expert people, for example, might not raise their hands in class or in a meeting unless they know exactly what the answer is and they're 100% certain that they know what it is. Or they might be people who don't apply to jobs unless they meet every single criteria listed because they don't want to feel failure. If there's any chance that they're wrong, they're not the expert in a situation, then they'll be humiliated. So the natural genius type of people and the natural geniuses in the world, these kinds of people are used to skills coming to them pretty easily. They dabble in this, dabble in that, and they're pretty good at a lot of general things in life. So when that one thing comes in life where they have to put in a little bit of effort or struggle just a little bit, they feel like they're an imposter because they can't do that one thing. It's not about everything else that they're good at. It's that one thing that they may need to put in a little more effort, and they feel like they're an imposter. All of their achievements and certifications and everything else mean nothing because of that one little thing. The 4th type of people are the soloists, and as you can hear from the name, soloists like to do everything on their own, and if they need to ask help from other people, then they feel like a failure, they feel like an imposter. And finally, the 5th type of people who most likely experience imposter syndrome, the supermen or the superwoman. So all the supermen and superwomen in the world, they pretty much feel like they need to be successful in all aspects of life, whether in your work or in your personal life and everything that you do, and they push themselves harder than everyone else around them to try to prove that they're not imposters. It's not like there's other people putting these pressures on them, but they themselves put that pressure on them to feel like they have to be the best at everything, work harder than everyone else, and that's the only way they're not imposters. As I was listing out these types of people, I'm wondering if you could identify with any of them. If you do, let me know in the comments below, because I'm about to tell you which ones I identified with. As crazy as it may sound, I feel like I identify with every single one of those. I'm definitely a perfectionist. I definitely feel like I need to be an expert in a lot of the things. I feel like I'm a natural genius, as in, I don't mean that to toot my own horn, but it's true that in life, a lot of skills did come to me easily. I'm also a soloist. I like to do things on my own because I am so used to helping other people throughout my life that if I feel like I need help, it's weird asking people for help. I feel like I should be able to do things on my own. And growing up, I had to do a lot of things on my own. So now, as an adult, when I realize in certain aspects of life I need to ask for help, I'm like, oh, oh, you know what I mean? Lastly, yeah, I do feel like I put this pressure on myself to be a superwoman. Like, no one's telling me I have to be like an amazing social worker, amazing wife, amazing friend, amazing daughter. These are all great things that I can work on in myself, but it's not really outside pressures, it's inside pressures that I put on myself, and I push myself to work harder and harder than other people. And if I don't, I feel like an imposter. All of these things make me feel like an imposter. And now, why do people experience imposter syndrome? Where does it even come from? And as with many things in life, there's no single answer for that. Some people say it could be personality traits. Maybe it's a bit of neuroticism. Maybe it's people who have a little bit more anxiety than others. Some psychologists have said that it could be behavioral concerns. For example, like childhood memories growing up. You could have grown up with multiple siblings, and you've had to kind of compete with them to be better. Maybe you felt like you could never please your parents. Your grades were never good enough. You felt like you were never good enough for people in your life when you were a child. Things that are experienced in childhood have long-lasting effects. So that could be a cause for imposter syndrome. Here is our scheduled interruption from one of my cats. It's been a while, hasn't it? Yuzu, say hi to the camera. Hello, everybody. This is Yuzu. Come to disrupt my video as usual. Just chilling. Okay, you know what? You want to just chill here while mama finishes the video? What else? Other psychologists and experts in the field have said that maybe imposter syndrome comes from like environmental outside factors where for example, discrimination. So on the other side of discrimination is feeling of inclusion, right? When you feel like you belong in a group where you're surrounded by people who accept you for who you are, you feel that sense of belonging. You feel confidence in yourself and your skills. So on the other side of the spectrum, when you feel discrimination, where you feel like you're not being accepted for who you are, it's very common to feel insecure in your competence, in your characteristics, in the things that you've achieved in life, and you just kind of push yourself more and more and more and more because of these outside factors, not necessarily what's going on the inside. And that has to do with a lot of environmental and institutionalized discrimination in society that unfortunately exists. And like I said, it has been shown that imposter syndrome is much more common amongst people who are embarking on new endeavors like middle school to high school to college, college to graduate school, college to work, starting a new job, getting a promotion. So how to deal with imposter syndrome? I think the number one thing we can do as humans who may experience imposter syndrome is to acknowledge the thoughts. A lot of the times with these things are you have to realize that these thoughts exist and they're very real and they're there for a reason. So don't just try to deny them, kind of sit with them being like, damn, like why am I thinking this way? Taking the time to think about these things, you'll be able to really think more critically. Oof, cat fur everywhere. Another way to deal with imposter syndrome is to reframe your thoughts. Basically, you kind of have to tell yourself the only difference between someone who experiences imposter syndrome and someone who does not experience imposter syndrome is how they respond to challenges, how they respond to new things in life, new changes in life. People who don't feel like imposters are no more intelligent or competent than people who do feel like imposters. It's kind of separating the feelings and the facts, because I think that's one of the biggest things I always preach in my work as a social worker, in my role as friend, wife, daughter, everything to a lot of people around me, that I think us as humans need to remind ourselves is that feelings are not facts. Sometimes we feel a certain type of way, but that's not the fact. A lot of times I feel like an imposter, I feel like I'm a failure, but I know I'm not. Like the fact is, I know I'm not. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that's the same situation for you as well. Last but not least, the last thing you could do when you're going through an imposter syndrome is share your thoughts with your loved ones or people that you trust, or even your mentors or supervisors in your workplace. If it's specifically about like a job, like for me, what I had to do is I had to talk to my supervisor about my imposter syndrome, and he was able to listen to me without judgment. And as someone who is much more experienced in the field, he let me know that it's totally normal to have these self-doubts in new environments, that I'm in a new place. Of course, I don't feel as competent as other social workers who have been working with my specific population for years, but where I reframe my thoughts is that's not how it's going to be forever. Myself as a social worker now, compared to myself as a social worker a month and a half ago, that first day when I walked into that job, I have improved so much. So to finish off this week's video, I just wanted to encourage you, whoever you are that's watching, most people experience self-doubt. Unfortunately, we are very social creatures as humans, and we tend to compare a lot with people around us. And a lot of the times, comparing with other people can be a good thing. You know, you can motivate yourself to do better, be better. But a lot of the times, we use it to really be hard on ourselves. We're so harsh on ourselves a lot of the times. And if you can just step back from your feelings and really think about the facts and reframe, you're not as bad as you give yourself credit for. At the end of the day, what is most important is to not let that doubt control your actions and your life. That's it for this week's video on imposter syndrome. I truly hope I was able to help you in any way with the information that I've shared. If you're feeling this, I am with you. We are going through this together. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please do like it. It does help me out a lot. And subscribe to my channel because I do make mental health videos. I have been saying every week, but because of this imposter syndrome thing that I'm going through, I'm sorry that it hasn't been as consistent as I was before. I am a flawed human being. I'm really working on it. But thank you always for your patience and your encouragements when I do upload a video. It means so much, and I really feel like I have friends on YouTube, as sad as that sounds. Like, I have friends here, you know, people who are excited for my videos. So I'm super thankful. I have the references that I've used to make this video in the description down below, so you can check them out and read more for yourself if you're interested. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!